Hey, what's going on guys? JoltsDude139 here, and today we're going to be going over some of the removed items on Borderlands 2, such as weapons, grenade mods, shields, all that good stuff. Keep in mind that these items were not put into the game, they just exist in the game's text files, which I can load up and show you. So I can only read you the name of the item and the red text, and maybe a description of what it would have done if they actually put it in there. So there is a couple of the items I can load into the game, which I will show you in a little bit, but without further ado, let's get started. Now, the text files for the removed items don't show up in the international language of English, so I had to go into a different language, so I chose Italian because it translates pretty well. And the first item we have here is a unique launcher called the Cluster Fun. It's probably going to be a blue because it's a unique, but there is a chance it could have been a purple because the Love Thumper, for example, was a purple. And the red text reads that, why are we not allowed to say f***? And judging by its name, the Cluster Fun, I'm going to assume it was a multi-shot rocket launcher, but it was removed, so we can't use it. Bummer. The next item we have here is a unique pistol known as the Creeper. The red text translates to "I'll kill you mama." Judging by its name, the Creeper, I'm going to assume it was from the Minecraft Easter egg and it was removed at one point in the game. And since Creepers tend to explode, I'm going to assume that this weapon might have been an explosive weapon. Since it was explosive, it probably was a Torgue weaponry. And like I said before, it's a unique, so it's probably a blue or purple weapon. The next weapon we have here is a unique doll SMG known as the Weasel. It was a unique, so it was probably a blue or purple, and the red text translates to the Pop. This is probably a reference to Pop Goes the Weasel, a childhood song, and unfortunately that's all we're able to tell about this one, so let's move on. The next item we have here is the Big Thumper. This was a legendary void shield, and the red text translates to "that will leave a mark." Now, Gearbox released a mobile app known as the Loot the World app, and people were claiming to get this through the Loot the World app, which they did, but they could only view the stats. It actually would not load in the game. So we do know the stats of this thing, and by the stats, it was pretty much just a void shield, but it was an insanely overpowered void shield that did 10 to 11 times the damage of a perfect Tided Terramorphous. So by OPA, you could have done some really massive damage with this thing. So unfortunately, it was removed from the game, and I would have loved to play that with my Zero, so too bad. So that's all of the items that were removed from the main game, so let's go on to the DLC items that were removed. Most of the DLC items don't tell us what kind of weapon they were, whether it was a sniper or pistol. All it tells us is it was a unique, which was probably a blue or purple, and the first one we have here is from the Hollowed Headhunter pack, and it was known as the Pumpkin Chumker, and the red text translates to "it is the time of harvest." Now this weapon was actually gotten from turning in the trick-or-treating quest after you complete the main story, and I think at one point Gearbox was probably going to release a DLC weapon for each of the Headhunter packs, but that did not happen. Now these next items were actually still in the game files, so I could load them into my game, and they were called Wisp. And it says here, Pandora and Wisp are mischievous sprites captured from the swamps around Jacob's Cove. Only one Wisp can be released at a time. Now these were gotten from the Hollowed DLC as random drops from enemies, and when you pick them up, a Wisp would fly around you, as you can see here, and they come in 4 elements: corrosive, shock, fire, and explosive. And they don't do a lot of damage, so I'm going to assume they didn't scale it to endgame damage, which is kind of a bummer, but what can you do? And when they attack enemies, they have a chance to drop money and ammo, which is really cool, but unfortunately these items were removed from the game. The next item here was a weapon, and it was from the Torgue DLC, and it was a unique, so it was probably a blue or purple, and it was known as the Firecracker, and the red text reads, it was like pow 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 pow. So I'm going to assume it was a Tina weapon, because Tina does say pow a lot in the main story, so maybe it would relate to her, but it's all speculation, so I don't know. And yeah, that's all we know about it, so let's move on to the next one. The next weapon we have here was a unique, so blue or purple, and it was also from the Torgue DLC, which was known as the Flame Tosser, and the red text reads Celsius 232. Now obviously that's a hot temperature, so I'm going to assume from the name and the red text it was probably going to be a fire related weapon, but we don't know what kind it was because it doesn't list it, so yeah. Let's move on. Up next we have another weapon, and it was a unique, so blue or purple, and it was from the Hammerlock DLC, and it was known as the Doom. And the red text reads Hell on Pandora. Unfortunately that's all we know about it, but from what I read there it sounds like it would have been a pretty cool weapon. And the last item we have here was a grenade mod in the Hammerlock DLC known as the Lure. And it says here in the red text, I get easily distracted by shiny objects. Now this one actually gives us a description of what it would have done, but unfortunately it was removed. And it says here, when you throw this grenade, basically the enemies would run towards it and kind of gather around it. I think that would have been really cool to see because, you know, we do have this singularity grenades where it pulls them into place. But this is different. You throw this and then they kind of run towards it, kind of like deception. It's kind of like a decoy, you know, and I think that would have been really cool to see in here. But unfortunately, they removed it. And lastly, we have some gun prefixes which exist in the game but cannot be gotten without modding. First off, we have the Blood-Off Assault Rifle with the Assault prefix, the Dull Assault Rifle with the Battle prefix, Torgue Assault Rifles with the Guyver Jet prefix, Bandit Assault Rifles with the Overloaded prefix, Jacob Assault Rifles with the Semi-Auto prefix, Dahl, Hyperion, Malawan, T2R Vladoff Barrels with the Homing prefix, Gub, Madhouse, and Sligo with the Legendable prefix, and Malawan SMGs with the Technotronic prefix. So unfortunately, that's all I have for today. So let me know down in the comments what you think about Gearbox removing some of these items. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about that. And yeah, that should be good. So if you guys enjoyed this video and want this series to return in the pre-sequel, please be sure to hit that like button. You guys have been supporting it really well, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, anyway, this is JoltsDude139, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.